Good morning, everybody. It's 9:31 right now. Welcome back to Iowa Live, and welcome back to the program, Jackie. Look, we have a familiar face joining us in studio right now. Kathy Obratovich is here. She's the editor-in-chief of Iowa Capital Dispatch. You must be one busy person right about now.
Yes, familiar face, but new job. We just launched this new website. It's a brand new news website. We just launched it yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yes, so we are brand new, and this morning I was just up trying to figure out, okay, how do I get these stories to post? It's really fun. We wanted to launch the week before the legislative session. A lot of our focus is going to be on state house and state government news and politics. Part of the reason that this not-for-profit news operation exists is because there has really been a decimation of the number of reporters covering state house news around the country.
Why do you think that is?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the business model of newspapers. And, newspapers just don't have the money with the online environment. The ad revenue that they used to have is just not what it used to be. Online news, even though my former employer, the Des Moines Register, does a great job with online news, the advertising just doesn't pay as much for it. So that's difficult. I mean, 1,800 newspapers closed since 2004. I mean,
wow.
that is crazy. And during that same period, newspaper staffs declined 47%. So the newspapers that are left have much smaller staffs. That's why we're here. We want to be able to give people another source for quality journalism because we think it's really important for democracy. It's important for an informed electorate. And we actually want to help out the community newspapers and other media outlets as well because we provide our content for free to them as well.
You do?
Kind of being a resource. Well, we wanted to bring you on to say congratulations.
Thank
you are
you.
definitely an Iowan to know, especially in the world of politics. Kind of the two of you are synonymous of being one. So what's happening in the world of local politics and how can we utilize Iowa Capital Dispatch now towards our benefit?
So right now, first of all, the legislative session comes back next week, comes back Monday. There's a lot of serious issues that they're facing. One is, are they going to raise the sales tax? You may remember the Iowa voters 10 years, or in 2010, agreed to have, if there was an increase in the sales tax, to have some of that money go to natural resources and environment, especially water quality. That issue has, that fund has sat there with no money in it now for a decade. Lawmakers are now looking at kind of a crisis in water quality, and they're looking at how are they going to find some resources. They also have we also have a crisis in the state of mental health.
Right.
The legislature's been talking about it for a couple of years now, but now they need to put up the money. So where are they going to get that? Just those two issues, and then the third part is a critical workforce shortage in the state of Iowa. Lawmakers are going to be coming back looking at all of those issues. In addition, of course, we have the Iowa caucuses going on.
A little thing known as the Iowa caucus.
Yes, I don't know if anybody's paying attention to that. We launched with an exclusive interview with Cory Booker, and we have another interview coming up with Pete Buttigieg coming up soon. We've done the interview, just got to put up the story.
Right.
And so, we're not going to spend all of our time on caucuses. We think it's more important to focus on the local policy issues, but of course we can't ignore it because it's everywhere.
Now, is that going
backyard,
to be your niche then, is be able to dive into the local politics?
Yeah, so I think Watchdog Politics, two of the stories that we launched with, I think are really good examples of why this news service is needed right now. Both by Clark Kaufman, who is well known as an investigative reporter in the state. One has to do with the fact that the Polk County Assessor's Office has been keeping property records secret at people's request for years and years and years. And those records are supposed to be available if you go to the office. They've said all along that those records would be available. Turns out they weren't. So there's a really interesting issue there. This morning we're up with a story about the fact that there was a really kind of disturbing issue with a private zoo in Manchester. The animals were dying.
Right.
They were clearly neglected, and the veterinary person in charge of that has not been. There's been no complaint against him by the state veterinary board, even though they're legally allowed to initiate their own complaints. They just don't do it. So,
those are some of the things you can dive into then.
Yeah, stories about we like to look at stories about why government is not working the way people expect.
Now, are you going to be able to dive into these stories a little deeper than you were in the past because of the ties with your former employer, for example?
Well, I think that one of the things is just our focus. Like, we're free to look into some of these types of stories because we're not being driven by ad revenue, and we're not being driven necessarily. Sure, we want eyes on our stories, but we can write stories that aren't all about getting clicks. We can write stories that we think are important for people to know, and hopefully will influence policymakers to try to make things better for people.
That frees your reporters up to go and dive, like we keep saying dive deep, but dive a little deeper into a story and get the truth out.
Yes, exactly. And we were able to hire experienced journalists who actually know how to look for these types of stories, and who are really motivated to try to uncover them as well.
I was just going to ask, so how are you doing it differently when we do still have, thankfully we still have a paper here locally that can, try to give us the latest news. How are you doing it differently so people know to check?
I think it's really just about our focus. That the types of stories that we're looking for. I've been telling people, our mission is kind of to hit them where they ain't, to use a baseball analogy there. To try to look for the stories that nobody else is reporting, and so those kinds of things, based on our experience, we are all Iowans who work at Iowa Capitol Dispatch. We have collectively over 100 years of experience.
Wow.
Not that makes us feel old or anything.
No, but be honest with you, your experience, I think, is what is really opening some doors for you too. Your name alone would open doors. If somebody wants to talk to somebody, say, hey, I'm part of Iowa Capitol Dispatch, and they go, oh, that's Kathy's organization, the one she's involved with. Okay, we'll talk to you. And that's really going to, really make a difference.
Not everybody likes us, but it doesn't hurt that they at least know who we are.
They know that you're good and that you're fair.
Yeah, I hope they know that we're fair. One of the things I think we have to prove is that we're interested in being a nonpartisan source of news, that we're not interested in really putting our thumb on the scale for one party or the other. And that's something that, people are going to be watching, and I expect them to watch. And we're just going to have to prove ourselves over time.
Now, you mentioned you want to go do some stories and talk about stories that other people are not talking about. Now, where are you getting these ideas from? Are they from folks that submit them to you, or is it your staff alone?
Oh, yeah. Well, so we get ideas from everywhere, and we're happy to hear story tips, and a lot of times that's what happens in news. People come and, once they know about you, and if they think you're going to do a good job in a story, they will come to you with a tip, and we love those. Our website has a place where you can contact us to let us know about stories that you care about, and then also just our observation. I mean, we're going to go out and report on stories, but we're going to try to look beneath the surface. There's a lot of things that go on at the State House, for example, where if you just dig a little deeper, you can find out a little bit more about how policy that's being discussed at the Capitol is actually going to affect people in real life. Those are the kinds of stories that we're interested in.
Now, you mentioned a story launching a couple yesterday for your official launch, but even this morning. How often are we going to see the website updated with new material?
We're going to try to update every day. That's a real challenge for a 4-person staff, but we're doing our best to do that every day. We also have a daily newsletter. People can subscribe to that for free, and that will give them a rundown of all of our stories for the day, and sort of also keep them up to date on things that they might have missed. We'll also tell them about good stories that some of our competitors in the news business have been publishing as well.
Okay, and I like your ideas. You said that a story that just surfaced, you talked about that zoo and the story behind that, and would that be in the newsletter? Say, hey, make sure you check this story.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Leading our newsletter this morning is this great watchdog story that we have for people on day 2 of Iowa Capitol Dispatch. So yeah, we're going to try to make it as easy as possible for people. We know they're busy. We know they've got a million other places to look for news, and so we're just trying to make it very easy for them.
So this is like the headlines in Des Moines. What's making the headlines in Des Moines, and it can be right to your inbox.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, perfect.
As I say, the reason we appreciate it is because you are keeping it local for the most part, and telling some great stories. So at IowaCapitolDispatch.com is where you need to go. Sign up for the newsletter, learn about some more incredible stories, and again, Kathy, we just want to say congratulations.
Thanks
and
much.
Look forward to seeing where this goes in the future, especially in a very volatile political season that we're heading into.
Yeah, we got nothing to do, don't worry.
And
we'll just kick back.
just a few things to talk about,
Articles,
Wonderful. Well, come join us again and talk about what's happening in the world of politics.
I'd love to. Thanks for having me this
Okay,
morning.
appreciate it.
All right.